A country located in Southeast Asia, Vietnam has a very rich history and is formerly under Dutch rule. A country with a wide variety of culture which prioritizes tradition and their beliefs. It is very catchy for many tourists, however, some of the people are taking advantage of the tourist. Want to know more about this country? Stay tuned until the end of this video. This is HTL World, where knowledge is served about a life you deserved. Chapter 1. History of Vietnam. The country of Vietnam is situated in what is known as the cradle of mankind, one of the earliest agricultural hubs where wet rice farming was practiced, and the site of the stone and metallurgical revolutions. The first state in Vietnam was founded in the 7th century BC on the basis of socio-economic development during the Dong Sun era and the struggle against natural calamities and foreign invasion. The Bac Dang triumph in 938 ushered in a new age of national construction, defense, and the growth of an autonomous feudal state in Vietnam. The Ngo from 938 to 965 CE, Dinh from 969 to 979 CE, and earlier Le from 980 to 1009 CE. Dynasties built the centralized administrative state. In terms of the economy, this time period saw the growth of irrigation and agriculture, with the building of the Red River Dike, as well as the establishment of traditional handicraft communities. The three coexisting official faiths were traditional beliefs, Buddhism and Confucianism. The War of Resistance against the French colonialists came to an end in 1954 with the victory at Dien Bien Phu and the Geneva Accord. An additional 30-year-long fight for national emancipation and unity was required of the newly established Vietnam. The Paris Accord, which called for the withdrawal of U.S. forces and the restoration of peace in Vietnam, was signed in 1973, when the Patriotic Armed Forces launched an offensive against the Saigon government and liberated southern Vietnam. The war was declared over in the spring of 1975. Vietnam is now the world's second-largest exporter of rice. Social administration based on the rule of law has been implemented, and the legal system has become increasingly better. International contacts have grown and developed, while security and national defense have been firmly maintained. The Vietnamese people have long been known for their traditions of generosity and helping one another. Chapter 2. The Vietnamese People. One of the most populous and diverse nations in Southeast Asia is Vietnamese. The foreign influences of both bordering and Western nations have substantially influenced Vietnamese modern ideologies. The Vietnamese sense of national identity has endured and continues to inspire a strong sense of patriotism and affinity among many people, despite the numerous and extensive cultural invasions by other nations. Vietnamese people today have an independent, enterprising, and resilient character. A few common cultural norms have a significant impact on how Vietnamese people generally behave and communicate. You offer individuals face by praising them, treating them with respect, or doing something to boost their self-esteem. Similar to how people might lose face by receiving criticism or acting in an improper social setting. People tend to speak quite subtly and sweetly because it is thought that one's speech should represent their goodness. Some Vietnamese may become extremely accepting of difficult circumstances as a result of this viewpoint, since they may think the events are the outcome of a predetermined destiny. Vietnamese culture also places a high priority on modesty, or Kim Tin, modesty and self-control. Vietnamese individuals frequently display a great sense of humility by downplaying their emotions, being self-effacing, and communicating through indirection. Vietnamese people desire to feel united in their community rather than being divided into classes. According to a 2014 estimate, 33% of Vietnamese people live in cities, compared to 67% who reside in rural areas. The two ways of living clearly diverge in terms of cultural values, with metropolitan regions currently being highly motivated and commercially oriented. Age, gender, prestige, and educational hierarchies are generally accepted in society on a cultural level relating to Buddhist, Confucian, and Taoist concepts. Since 94% of the population is literate, education is highly prized and frequently the most respected of all achievable traits of status. There is a high cultural focus on the value of age, which is also reflected in filial piety. In many interactions in Vietnam, respect is graded according to age. Chapter 3. Interesting facts about Vietnam. Vietnam has also become one of the top travel destinations in the world, known for its beautiful islands, beaches, food, history, culture, and people. However, despite being a known country for tourists, Vietnam still has a lot of things to offer. Here are interesting facts about Vietnamers. It has the largest cave in the world, a recently discovered cave system in Vietnam's Quang Binh province, measuring over 5.5 miles long, 650 feet broad, and 500 feet tall, offers breathtaking and huge potential for cave explorers. A towering stalagmite, fields of ancient algae, and cave pearls are just a few of the amazing underground features found in the more than 150 caves that make up the cave system. Although it is disputed whether or not this is the largest cave in the world, it is undoubtedly worthwhile to explore. It is the second largest exporter of coffee. The value of Vietnam's annual crop export is estimated to be $3.2 billion, and the country is responsible for 10.5% of the world's coffee export. Coffee lovers from all over the world go to Vietnam in search of the one-of-a-kind flavor that can only be found in Vietnam's coffee. As a result, Vietnamese coffee is widely regarded as one of the best coffees in the world. It has a wide variety of tropical fruits. Producing a diverse selection of tropical fruits is made possible in Vietnam thanks to the country's naturally fertile soils and year-round tropical climate. When vacationing in a tropical nation like Vietnam, one of the most enjoyable experiences for visitors is getting to stroll through verdant gardens dotted with fruiting trees bearing an assortment of delectable treats. Ho Chi Minh's embalmed body is on display. Ho Chi Minh, often known as Uncle Ho, was the first president of Vietnamers. He passed away in 1969, and his body is currently on exhibit in a mausoleum located in the capital city of Hanoi. This location is a destination of religious pilgrimage for a significant number of Vietnamese people. If you are interested in viewing the body of Ho Chi Minh but are hesitant to do so owing to the enormous queues, you should reconsider. In point of fact, the lines advance very rapidly. The visitors are not permitted to pause in order to snap photographs. While you are being watched, you are supposed to move forward. It is common practice to close the mausoleum between the months of September and December because legend has it that the body is sent to Russia annually for upkeep. Has a wide diversity of ethnic groups. There are 54 different ethnic groups that are recognized by the government of Vietnam, making it a very ethnically diverse country. Every people group possesses its own distinct language as well as culture. The Vietnamese, also known as the Kin people, make up approximately 86% of the total population of the country and are primarily concentrated in the deltas and coastal provinces. The remaining 14%, or approximately 8.5 million people, are dispersed throughout the mountainous and highland areas that stretch from the north to the south of the country. Access to infrastructure, healthcare, and educational facilities is restricted for members of underrepresented minority groups. To a much greater extent than they contribute to national economies as a whole, ethnic minorities are heavily reliant on the agricultural sector. Chapter 4 to 10 Things you shouldn't do in Vietnam. Vietnam is a country with a wide variety of ethnic groups, and many tourists who went to Vietnam experienced culture shock due to the differences in culture. To avoid these problems when visiting the country, we are going to show you the 10 things you shouldn't do when visiting Vietnamers. Don't hesitate while crossing in Vietnam. In Vietnam, navigating through traffic is an art form in and of itself. Regarding the enforcement of traffic laws, the town of Vietnam is not particularly well organized. The traffic jam caused by automobiles, trucks, mopeds, and motorcycles will not clear up for me. You are the one who needs to take the initiative and insist on crossing the street. It is all about moving in the direction you want to go in a manner that is gradual, steady, and assured. First, make direct eye contact with the drivers to ensure that they are aware that you are ready to move. This will ensure that they are prepared for your departure. Ensure that those around you are aware of the path that you intend to take. Do not stop. It is essential to keep moving forward in the same direction. Avoid drinking tap water. In Vietnam, you should try to stay away from drinking the tap water. It is contaminated with microorganisms that are detrimental to your health and have the potential to swiftly ruin your holiday. Instead, choose for water that comes in a bottle, and before you take a sip, double verify that the cap is still securely on the bottle. Be careful not to be one of the people who finds out the hard way, because some places actually refill bottles with tap water and then resell them. Consider getting a bottle refilled at your hotel with filtered water rather than continually purchasing new plastic bottles. Doing so is preferable to the alternative of purchasing new plastic bottles. Or you may use a water bottle that you can refill that also has a water filtration system. Remove your shoes in Vietnamese houses. Before entering a Vietnamese home, it is customary to remove one's shoes as a sign of respect to the culture. When one enters a house, bowing to the host is considered the appropriate and courteous thing to do in many Asian cultures, including Vietnam and a number of other Asian countries and civilizations. Note a public display of affection. Believe it or not, many parts of the world have different standards for how public demonstrations of affection should be conducted. Prior to visiting any new place, one should make it a top priority to educate themselves on the relevant social standards that would be encountered there. It is considered rude to kiss or embrace someone in public when you are in Vietnamese. It is regarded as being inappropriate. It's all right to hold hands, though. Dress appropriately. Vietnam's culture places a high value on respecting the rules that apply when visiting pagodas and temples. The dress code isn't a big deal outside of a place of worship, although dressing more conservatively is encouraged. The less skin exposed when entering a temple, the better. It is ideal to wear skirts or pants that end just below the knee when attending an event. If you decide against wearing a skirt, be cautious when wearing jeans that are too tight. Avoid wearing any low V-neck shirts and keep your shoulders covered. Do not forget about local foods. Vietnamese people are really passionate about their food. The streets and markets are always bustling with people dining. Eating all of the amazing ethnic food is one of the highlights of visiting Vietnamese. The substantial noodle soup pho, which is boiled in bone broth, is one of the most well-liked foods to sample. You should also try banh mi, banh chij, banh xeo, banh cun, banh riu, and bun bo hu, among other street cuisines. Don't hug when greeting others. The Vietnamese are extremely proud of their culinary traditions. It doesn't matter what time of day it is. You can always find people dining in the streets and markets. Consuming all of the great regional specialties that are unique to Vietnam is one of the highlights of traveling through the country. Pho, which is a substantial noodle soup that's boiled in a bone broth, is one of the most popular foods that you may sample. Other street dishes that you shouldn't leave Vietnam without trying are banh mi, banh cha, banh xeo, banh cun, bun riu, and bun bo hu. Ask before you shoot. It is important to remember to show respect to the Vietnamese people because they are genuine people and not tourist attractions. Simply ask the person's permission before taking their picture if you wish to photograph someone from the village or the market. If someone requests payment in exchange for posing for your photo, you should not take offense at their request. They are entirely within their rights to do so, particularly in touristy regions where they must be asked numerous times a day by curious onlookers. If you are willing to make a payment, decide on the amount of that payment in advance. If this is the case, decline the offer with grace and go on. Avoid showing your wealth. It is important that you get rid of any jewelry that isn't necessary because it advertises the fact that you have money and could make you a target for theft. Put all of your valuables away in a secure location. In the event that you have a significant amount of cash with you at all times, you should consider dividing it up into numerous portions and carrying those portions in separate locations in the event that you are victimized by a pickpocket or lose money in another situation. Avoid Vietnamese taxes. Tourists frequently fall victim to cons in Vietnamese when you use Grab or Uber. You can rest assured that the price you see when you book the ride will be the exact price you pay. Because the majority of taxi drivers in Vietnam do not know English, there is a great probability of misunderstandings occurring, which may result in further difficulties. Grab and Uber will almost always be less expensive than cabs, not to mention safer and more dependable overall. Chapter 5. Sioin Silusion. Traveling to new places and countries are always a very exciting moment. It is where you'll see the vast history the country experiences and also its wide variety of culture. It is also important to know these cultures and to pay respect to their beliefs as people of their country. So do some research before you book your flight to travel to a different country. How about you? Do you want to travel the country of Vietnam? Do you find this country fascinating and interesting? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and click the notification bell button so you will not miss our next video. Again, this is HEL World, where knowledge is served about a life you deserve. We'll see you to the next one.